Episode 62 of Coffee with Coach. I'm joined as always by my producer and broadcast partner from the Emerald Isle of Ireland, Michael McQuaid. Michael, what is happening in Ireland right now?
I'll tell you what's happening in Ireland right now. It's a Friday morning. This is being recorded, and I have many regrets for watching that Patriots-Washington game last night. I am in the depths of despair here. But I mean, look, Ireland is a very Christian country, Jeff. People talk about the second coming, the Messiah. I think a lot of people think they've seen the Messiah.
It was two passes. It was two. He completed two passes. Now ease off.
It was just funny because the crowd in Massachusetts, and look, to be fair to them, obviously they have an expectation, but it was hilarious. Like the crowd, the atmosphere. Jones runs on. It's like something from a movie. It's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, it's all going good.
How do you suppose Cam felt when he got that kind of ovation when he trotted on the field and then he completes the passes? Now I cannot wait to hear Belichick's takes on the whole deal and see where this goes, because it is going to be fun. Some of the fascinating stuff that's going on in the National Football League right now. I don't know. I'm still not sold. I gotta see. I gotta see a bigger body of work than two passes before I jump on that bandwagon, buddy.
Let's see. I think it was like a few more passes than that there, but yeah, like it's obviously going to take a while for that to happen. I don't think he'll start week one, but let's see what happens. Obviously, exciting times. Preseason's back. There was 2 games last night. There's games tonight. There's games Saturday night, and Sky Sports is showing games next week as well. I think for the first time ever they're showing preseason games. So great time to be an NFL fan. I'm going to your big game tomorrow as well, Jeff. So I'll definitely boo your boys for you.
What colors are you wearing tomorrow night?
Red.
As you go to the promised land, huh?
Yes, sir. Well, dreams, isn't it? I mean, like, obviously you're a lifetime Leeds fan, so I'll send you a few images, maybe.
Please do, and make sure they're the ones, after Leeds buries one in the back of the net and the place goes crazy.
There's actually a Leeds related question here from Nibson. I think he's in Leeds. Obviously, Marco Biasa would be a great choice of a dinner party guest, with his interpreter also attending. But could you choose 3 others from American football, like for dinner party guests? For a dinner party guest,
Bielsa would really be a great guest, because I am going to try and find a way to get some time with him and sit down and talk to him about the up-tempo way they play, and they press the ball up the field, all that stuff. And again, I don't know much about soccer, but I really enjoy the way they play. I would love to have him sit with Coach Vermeil, and who is my mentor in this business. And I think if you could put Don Shula in that group and Tony Dungy, I think that'd be a pretty good conversation. Little coach's corner in the, a little bit of wine with Coach Vermeil. We're drinking that Dick Vermeil wine, and we'd have a good night.
Yes, sir. One last question before we get to our guest here. With AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones in the backfield, so it's Green Bay related. This is from David Muldowney. In Ireland, I think. Could we see a pro set to get them both involved? So obviously with AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones in the backfield for Green Bay, could we see a pro set to get them both involved?
I think you'll see those guys in the same backfield, or in the lineup at the same time, whether they flex one out using 2-back offense. And this is really an interesting question, because everybody seems to have gone now to 1 back, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, 1 back. But when you get in a 2-back offense, you create problems for the defense that are unique, and especially because they don't see it very much. And you got 2 guys with unique skill sets there. I'm really anxious to see what Matt LaFleur does with those guys and how they integrate them into that Packer, not only running game, but also the passing game.
Awesome, man. And who's our guest this week then?
Our guest is the head of the largest NFL fan club in the UK. It's the UK and Irish Packers fans. And I'm going to tell you something. It's amazing the number of people that they have listen to their podcast, the number, how active that group is. We know Packer fans are passionate. They're some of the best fans in the National Football League. But these people headed by Stay are really, really passionate about the Packers. We had a really interesting conversation, and his takes I thought were right on about his football team, where they're going, and the whole Aaron Rodgers saga, which, you know, I had to have kept Packers fans on pins and needles this whole offseason. So, you know, it was fun. This coach's corner thing, I mean, the fan forum thing we're doing, Michael, I think it is awesome because it's so good to hear the fans, how knowledgeable fans are, the takes that we get. And so I hope the fans will continue to enjoy it on the podcast.
Yes, sir. And here is Steve from the UK and Irish Packers now.
Hey, welcome to everybody in the tribe. This is episode 62, very special episode because we have from the largest NFL fan club in the UK, the Irish and UK Packers Club, my man, not P. Diddy, E. Diddy. One of the Diddy boys is here to talk about his team, the Green Bay Packers.
On the birth cert, Jeff. It's on the birth cert. Thanks for saying Irish and UK Packers to represent the Paddies. I know Michael McQuaid is your dude, your producer, so he probably gives you a hard time about the Irish English thing, does he?
Yeah, I get a little bit of it, but you know what? I love Ireland. I love the fans in Ireland. People don't realize how passionate a group of fans there are in Ireland.
Yeah, because we had the college game as well. Don't forget. So we had Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, as we say over here. So I mean, it's big and getting bigger. It used to be going down the local park, Jeff. You'd see people with Hurleys and Gaelic footballs and stuff. For now, it's American football. So yeah, it's turned into a big deal over here. I wonder, will we get a Wembley style game in Croke Park with an NFL team? That's to be continued, but here's hoping.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen because Croke Park is such a great facility. As you said, you hosted a number of college games. Notre Dame's come over there a couple of times. Navy's come over there, and those games have always been well attended. And I think really have been a highlight on the sporting schedule. It's interesting, man. We came over and did a fan forum thing for the NFL, and we had people standing outside in the Irish rain around the block to get in. And it was really awesome because the place was filled and really, really knowledgeable and passionate fans. And then the day after, I did an open practice down in Dublin, and there were kids that drove like 4 hours to this little 2-hour practice. And, it was like, it was fantastic. No way you're going to get kids in the United States to do that. Yeah. But it was just that it was so awesome to get kids from all over Belfast, Northern Ireland, all over the Emerald Isle. It was awesome. Really enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, that's that Celtic passion. I'm glad you came over. I might have been at that event. Was that the one? Who did you have at that? And you got a live phone call from someone. This is all very patchy. Was it Tom Brady or someone? Someone got a phone call from somebody. Anyway, it was great. Neil Reynolds, our good buddy Neil Reynolds, because I spoke to you before. We've had you on the podcast. Yeah. I know Neil Reynolds. We've had him on the podcast. But you guys are doing a great job for the old ambassadors of the sport. Like I said before, Jeff, I could listen to you read the phone book. So I think we're going to enjoy this interview. So what's happening? Do you want to hear all things Packers?
Yeah, I want to jump right in. And I want, first of all, obviously the Packers have a huge international following. Everybody knows that. But how did this club that you guys have, this fan club that you guys have, grow so big, so large, and so passionate with, how many fans, how many members really do you think or do you have in the club?
Yeah, so that's kind of that's a large question in the sense. So Twitter, we have like 11,000 followers, right? So I mean, that could be anybody. That could be people in the States. Instagram, it's about 10 or 11,000 on there. But we do a sign up membership. It's free, so you get your membership number, and then you get sort of, you get informed of, say, if the Packers are coming over or there's any news going on. We do, annual trips to Lambeau, which kind of got kicked to the curb, as we all know, with the pandemic, but it's back this season. So stuff like that. So we have, I think at last count, I issued numbers last night. It was like 1,600, I think, signed up members, which, doesn't sound like a lot, but there's an awful lot of people that just don't sign up. You talk to them and you meet them at events. And they see the emblazoned shirt and they go, "What's the number 474 about?" And you're like, "Oh no, it's a membership number." I go, "I didn't know you could be a member." So yeah, you see, I think as well as that, Jeff, an awful lot of people think they have to pay for membership, and that's not really the case. But look, it all started as a Twitter account. Ryan started as a Twitter, and then I was writing for NFL Ireland at the time. And then I came on board, and then I got an interview with Neil Reynolds and stuff like that, and we sort of get a bit bigger. And then I said, come on, let's start a website. So we started a website, we had articles on it, and then the podcast has become really popular, and it just grew and grew. And as you said, I mean, the fanaticism with the NFL over here is crazy. So, it's different, I guess, in Canada and the States. But over here, and this is the experience you probably hear all the time, you're sitting in your living room, Aaron Rodgers after connecting on a Hail Mary, of course, which we just call just a regular Sunday.
It's another day of work, right? Yeah.
Day of work for Aaron Rodgers. And you're excited about it and you're jumping up and down, but the dog doesn't care. You run up to the wife. She definitely doesn't care, especially being woken up at 3 a.m. So you've no one to talk to. So that's kind of where the group came from. And it just went from strength to strength. It's a lot of hard work. Yourself kind of trying to get this stuff off the ground. Like the podcast is like bi-weekly or annual. The group has been going since 2013, and it's not by accident, so there's an awful lot of hard work. But look, it's brilliant. The people you meet, the passionate fans you meet. I mean, you see it in droves, of course, because you get it from every sort of fan group. But it's great though, because the Packers, for some reason, Jeff, I don't know if you see this as well. Although we're nearly in the dance every year, we're not one of the sexy teams. Somehow everyone goes to Tom Brady, and now they're jumping on the Bucks, and rightly so, because it's exciting, right? But for some reason, I don't know why. The Packers kind of float underneath the radar every year. Everyone knows Aaron Rodgers, but it's wild. And Patrick Mahomes, again, young player, exciting, and people jump on that. And the Chiefs fan group is fantastic over here too. But yeah, we fly a little bit under the radar, and I don't know why that is, but hopefully doing a better job.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not, you guys aren't under the radar to me. I got to know, with this offseason that you guys have had, that the Packers have had, what has been your take and the general consensus of UK and Irish Packer fans about the Aaron Rodgers saga?
Yeah, do you know what? It's very nuanced, right? So I had there must be about 10 podcasts in a row now. I was just trying to get into the nuance of it all. I won't do 10 podcasts worth of talk now, Jeff. I'll try break it down. But look, the bottom line, has it split the fan base? Yes. Are people on one side or the other? Absolutely. And although I said we've flown on the radar as a team to support, we certainly hasn't flown on the radar this offseason, as you know, with all of the drama that's gone on. But for anybody to think that this is just down to the Jordan Love draft, as in they drafted Aaron Rodgers' replacement, and apparently the very sort of upper echelon, upper level story to all of this is he got annoyed because they didn't respect him and all this type of stuff, right? Let's just remind ourselves that this is an issue that's been going back for quite a number of years. We've seen that Aaron Rodgers can be, as with all superstar genius quarterbacks, he can have desires and wants and needs and all this type of stuff. And it's the organization, seemingly, from what we've heard, have not sort of bowed down to that. They've sort of taken a hard line to say, we make all the decisions here. And whether that be a good or bad situation, let's sort of roll back a little bit. Aaron Rodgers, he's had his injury concerns, is probably too much of a word, but he has been out, Jeff, and you've seen what's happened to the Packers when Aaron Rodgers is out. It's been falling off a cliff. It's a gulf. So basically what's happened with the Packers is, even back to Mike McCarthy's days, is that it was predicated on Aaron Rodgers doing what he does, going off script and making plays. And that sounds great. And it's brilliant to have a quarterback who can do it. And undoubtedly Rodgers felt that he was carrying the weight of the team at that point. But from an organizational perspective, especially an organization like the Packers that doesn't have a rich owner, we can't get bailed out by somebody. We have to depend on the community. Mark Murphy's the president, but he's the de facto owner, but he can be replaced. So when you look at that and you see the fact that your team is literally depending on one guy, there needs to be a change. Now, there was a Buffalo game with Mike McCarthy, and Aaron Rodgers criticized him on the podium after. That was the end of Mike McCarthy, right? We had stories about McCarthy calling in plays and Aaron Rodgers rolling his eyes and not adhering to the plays. It's an awful lot of power for one guy to have. And understandably, the front office want to make sure they don't have all their eggs in one basket, right? So they get Matt LaFleur. He starts organizing this offense that's predicated on the run. So you set up the pass by the run. And we've seen the emergence of Aaron Jones. We're excited about A.J. Dillon. Jamal Williams got a payday when he went to the Lions. So the system is changing now. And they see them going for Josiah DeGuara, tight end. And they're like, oh, what are they doing with that guy? They've drafted him way too high. But that's because the system that they play is all sort of play action stuff. So they're trying to get away from having to depend on Aaron Rodgers. Now, he comes out with an MVP season, Jeff. So it just goes to show that even he can operate within this system at an extremely high level. But all of the stuff that went on before with Aaron Rodgers' injuries and them not sort of guaranteed to get the play from him, his play had dipped. Now, for him, as he says in his own words, his play at a dip level is someone else's MVP play. And that is absolutely correct. The guy's a first-time sort of ballot Hall of Famer. However, when you have a quarterback who is rolling his eyes on the field, there was question marks, wasn't there, Jeff, about when Matt LaFleur come in, would Aaron Rodgers get along with him? And I would say, would there be those questions if someone was to come in place of Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes, or when Drew Brees was with the Saints? Would you say, is Drew going to get along with him? There's usually no smoke without fire, but that's what you get with a genius quarterback. Now, where do they stand now, Jeff? Is it understandable that they drafted a quarterback? Yes. And why? Well, it's because Aaron Rodgers' play was dipping a little bit. He seemed to be a little bit disgruntled, which is going back a couple of years. He was changing plays and stuff. He's getting older. And also, the Packers were looking for a wide receiver that draft. They were looking for Justin Jefferson. They said to the Vikings, how about it? And they said, NFC North? No, thanks. So then they dropped down and they saw Jordan Love being the top person. So they went for him. And that disgruntled Rodgers even more. He didn't know where he stood. And that's understandable too. So where we're at is that the Packers, they want to include Aaron Rodgers in the conversation. They want to keep him, but they see all the stuff that went before and they're like, what do we really do here? And then Aaron Rodgers puts the MVP season on paper and he says, I love the Packers. I want to stay here. But if you're not going to, I don't want to be a lame duck quarterback to sit here for a year and then you get rid of me. Nothing's really changed, Jeff. The problem was that Aaron Rodgers had no leverage. So he might have wanted out, but for his contract, he couldn't. The Packers are not going to let him go. He's an MVP player. So the ball is still in the Packers' court. However, next year is when it all comes to pass in the sense that they can break ties with Aaron Rodgers. Now, why would you want to break ties with Aaron Rodgers? But what I would say is anybody other than Aaron Rodgers is a downgrade. Am I right? Not unless they can get Patrick Mahomes in, which isn't realistic, obviously. But look, Jordan Love is not going to be as good as Aaron Rodgers. It's too early to speculate any of that type of stuff. Should they keep Aaron Rodgers? Yes. Should they try keep him after this season? Yes. Is that going to be possible? I don't know. Because like a relationship, Jeff, and I'll end it here, sometimes things just go sour over a period of time and it becomes irreparable, which might be what's happened. However, for this season, Aaron Rodgers is all in seemingly. If he's not too pushed on the team, he's going to want to put some good stuff on tape to go somewhere else. And then the Packers will get a king's ransom of picks. Will it work out with Jordan Love? Who knows? Is he going to be as good as Aaron Rodgers? Is anybody? So it's all up in the air, but it should be an exciting season because they've run it back, Jeff. They've got all the people that they had success with last season. So if they can't do it again this season, well, then they've built their team and restructured their team incorrectly. But it looks like they've brought back the number one scoring offense, remember, last year. So for all this talk of the Packers not having a good wide receiver, they were the number one scoring offense for a reason. So they've got the band back together for at least one more year. And let's see what happens after that.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. As long as you got 12, you got a chance, right? Yeah. And I think that's really the biggest thing right now for Packer fans to realize is he's back. He's, and again, it's a different situation. We talk about player empowerment, and I think players more and more are realizing, especially the elite level players, that they have a certain degree of power. He obviously, I thought his press conference was one of the best and most eloquent, well thought out explanations of what transpired I have ever heard from an athlete. I thought it was fantastic. Obviously, the guy's an intelligent guy. There are some, he's got some gripes. He's got some complaints that I think are valid.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes with Gutekunst in this thing, going forward, where his power base is going to be. Jordan Love in the preseason is going to be fascinating to me because it'll be our first real peek at him as a player. But, let's talk about the other side of the ball a little bit, because this to me is the thing that if you're frustrated, I know there's frustration because, you've never been able to put another guy next to Devontae Adams. You've lost great players on the offensive line, good players, have moved out at the end of their careers, which I think that is a natural outcome in pro sport. But the defense in Green Bay has continuously been a problem, and they've put a lot of draft collateral into that defense. What's going on with the defense right now?
Well, it's different now in the sense that we had Mike Pettin and now we have Joe Barry. Now, Joe Barry has a bad record in other places that he's been, but they've said he hasn't had the talent that he's had with Green Bay. But it's a real Jekyll and Hyde stuff, Jeff, really. If you look at that Bucs game last year, the Kevin King play where, he just got blown up at the end of the first half. But then, you look at the fourth quarter, and they get 3 interceptions, and put it back in Rodgers' hands, and then it doesn't work out because of the field goal decision and all. We could talk for hours on it. But what we hear in camp about Joe Barry is that he's energetic. The system hasn't changed all that much from Mike Pettin. However, it's enough to confuse Aaron Rodgers to the extent where he's saying that he's seeing stuff in practice that he's never seen before. So Joe Barry is really good at disguising plays. And we've got some top talent there too. Jair Alexander, one of the best cornerbacks, if not the best cornerback in the league. And again, for a diminutive guy, fantastic. So we expect him to carry on. Stokes, the new guy coming in, the rookie, he's making splashes as well. Here's a guy who's coming in to sort of relieve Kevin King, who was released and ended up floating his way back up the Fox River and back into Green Bay because his trade value wasn't there after what happened last season. So here's a guy who's going to take over from him. King is now injured again, so Stokes is going to take over. Kenny Clark is an absolute animal. We have the Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith brothers, let's call them, and they're going to be dominant again, because what happened is that there's little nuances again if you don't follow the team closely that you look at it on the face of it and go, they don't stand a chance, or they haven't got much better. But Preston Smith was an absolute force 2 years ago, and he seemed to drop off the face of the earth last year, but that's because the Packers were dropping him into coverage an awful lot. So now they're going to try not do that, obviously, and play to his strengths, which is what the Joe Barry defense is all about. So now we're hopefully going to have Preston Smith back to his best, up at the line of scrimmage, creating havoc with Zadarius Smith. And Rashan Gary is expected to have an absolute breakout year. This is a guy, Jeff, people might not recognize or remember, but he was a first-round pick for the Packers. He was a guy who, when the Packers drafted him, the defensive coaches were doing cartwheels up Lambeau Field because they were so delighted. He really raw guy, unbelievable motor. And if there was an award for the most energetic man on Twitter videos, this guy would win hands down, because the work he puts in and the videos he puts out are unbelievable. So look, the defense isn't perfect, but I believe we have the pieces there. And if we use them correctly, as you said, we've just pumped, draft capital after draft capital in there. But the names we have now, Darnell Savage at safety, Adrian Amos at safety, they're a fantastic tandem. Jair Alexander is getting close to, if not is already there, the lockdown corner. Kenny Clark creates havoc. You have the Smiths coming off the edge with Rashan Gary. The problem has always been with the Packers is inside linebacker. And we thought we had something solved there with a guy called Kamal Martin. But now apparently, he's got injured and now he's back again, and they're playing him at outside linebacker. So that's still a concern. But again, we added pieces there, especially lads who can come up and challenge the tight ends, which is always a problem in the league, and running backs and stuff like that, because we usually get ran all over. But the defense, to me, is the area that it can only go up from here, Jeff, can't it? You're sort of looking at the offense and everyone offense.
Yeah, I think the defense is talented, and it's certainly talented enough for them to make a long playoff run. When I keep going back to the fact that when 12's in the game, you've always got a chance.
Yeah,
it to me is amazing. I still can't get over that play with King where Scotty Miller runs right by him on a situation. You talk about situationally aware, and it cost him Pettin his job. And I thought Mike had done a good job of with that defense. I really agree with you in terms of those two Smiths on the edge.
Mm.
If Joe Barry can be creative with their talent and move them around and not just have them in one spot where an offense, because when an offense knows where you're at, they can chip, they can they slide protection to you, they can do all those things. But I think if they'll do some of the things that Baltimore does, where there are people all over the place, make it hard to find them.
Yeah.
They can cause problems. How do you see your division? I mean, as it is known, the black and blue division, the NFC North. Who do you see as threats in the North?
Well, if you listen to Bears fans on Twitter, it's the Bears, right? I mean, you look at Justin Fields and he's doing well. Do you know what? I love the rivalry with the Bears, and as you said, the black and blue division, this is the division. It doesn't matter, Jeff, if we're blazing ahead of everybody outside the division. The minute we come up against the division game, it's always tough. It's really intriguing. I mean, when you look at the likes of the Lions, like Matt Stafford was a force to behold. He really was. And I don't think he was appreciated enough. And now with him gone, you'd wonder, what's the viability of that team then? But really, the Chicago Bears is something I have my eye on. Kirk Cousins, I'm not so against Kirk Cousins. Maybe his stance on healthcare matters that he's hit the news about. I mean, he hasn't made any fans of himself there. if he gets his plexiglass office on the field, Jeff, I think they stand a chance. But outside of the plexiglass Vikings offensive line, the Bears, I think, is really intriguing. Justin Fields in there doing his thing. But this is what happens with the Bears, isn't it? They get a quarterback, they get excited, and then they get destroyed. I mean, that's usually what we know and love. Gone are the days of Jay Cutler, I suppose. But yeah, look, it's a tough division. It's a very physical division. We tend to see that, though, don't we, Jeff? Like the NFC tends to be very bruising, and then you look at the likes of the AFC, it tends to be more kind of, it's the Messi Ronaldo style of play. One's fanciful and footwork and fantastic. The other one's just pretty bruising. So yeah, it's going to be tough. It's always tough. The divisional games are always tough. There was times where, we were flying high, and then you come back to Soldier Field and then you get absolutely clobbered. I mean, famously, Brett Favre got his number retired, and I wouldn't do the Bears, but they had to clobber us on that game as well. I mean, what a way to put a dampener on it. So yeah, look, it's going to be tough. They have a good quarterback, Khalil Mack and stuff like that. When he went to the Bears, it really shook stuff up, I think. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's all going to be at. It doesn't matter what sort of defensive coordinator they put in there. Everyone always goes, "Oh, he has the tools to flummox Rodgers." But it's to be honest with you, the Packers to me are still head and shoulders above everybody else. That's not being biased. It's the fact that we the number one scoring offense. Not a whole lot of change in the offensive side of the ball, and on the defensive side of the ball, we look to be doing creative stuff. So much so, as we said, Aaron Rodgers pulled Darnell Savage aside in practice and said, "Why were you there? I did not expect you to be there." So when you're confusing Aaron Rodgers, it's all to play for. And as much as we get excited about rookies, Jeff, if you're coming up against a rookie quarterback, like you alluded to, if you get the Smiths teeing off the edge, it just confuses these guys. It's an awful lot faster than preseason. So look, the Packers are the ones to beat. Vikings and Bears in around there, and the Lions. Even the quotes from the Lions coach is intriguing enough for me, but I don't think the machismo does it for me. I think they still end up the bottom of the league, much to the chagrin of all of the Lions fans listening.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. I think obviously when you have as much firepower as they have coming back, and this is a new NFL. This, when I grew up, it was Minnesota and Detroit and Chicago and Green Bay, and they were all outdoor stadiums, and it was November and the snow and pounding each other into submission. Yeah. But, it's changed now. You got 2 indoor stadiums, and I agree with you. The Lions are the furthest back, but Minnesota, if they can get their defense fixed, I think can be better. And I cannot imagine a Mike Zimmer team being that bad on defense again. Yeah. Obviously Chicago, there's always hope in Chicago. They've been looking for quarterbacks since ever, right? I mean, even since I was a little kid, there was, McMahon was a good quarterback. He wasn't a great quarterback, but he was a winner. They got to prove it to me. They got to prove it to me a little bit. So I would say you're right about the Packers. I think this is going to be it's a team that should get in the playoffs. And again, if the defense can grow, I think it's a team that can make a deep playoff run. Tell us before we leave you, tell us what's going on with the club, how somebody, if you're a Packer fan anywhere in the world, how you can log in, tune in, dial in, and be part of what you guys are doing. And, what's coming up this season for you guys?
Yeah, sure. So at UK Packers on all social media channels, we have a really successful podcast as well. So if you go to iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, you can get on there. But we rolled out about, I think it was like 10 meetups before COVID hit, and we're looking to get back to that. So I can't announce anything yet, Jeff, but we're looking to partner with some people and venues around the UK and Ireland to bring that meetup to every location that we have fans. If you want to become a member, it's absolutely free. They can dive on that as well. You just go to ukpackers.co.uk. And as well, we have a Patreon page and we do raffles for signed merchandise and stuff like that. Of course, we have a YouTube channel like everybody else as well. But yeah, Twitter is the main place to find us. I think at UK Packers on Twitter and me at STDD NFL. So follow along there, because the amount of meetups and merch giveaways and everything that we have coming up this season, we're having a post-COVID, maybe it's a bit premature, we're having a post-COVID style blast. And we have that annual trip that's coming up as well, Jeff, in November. So do stick along with our social media channels to see us actually in the Mecca that is Green Bay and hanging out with some of the people over there. All
right. Before I let you go, we play a little word association game. I'm going to give you a name and you tell me what the first thing, and you got 1 sentence to do it. Yeah. The first thing that comes to your mind. All right. Vince Lombardi.
Greatness, motivation, and just well ahead of his time. Well ahead of his time. Racial issues and everything else that's going on in the world today, he had them all solved back then. He was incredible.
Okay, good start. Curly Lambeau.
Funny, motivated, What comes to mind? Hollywood. Who comes to mind? If you know anything about Curly Lambeau, the guy knew how to live.
All right. Mike Ditka.
Mike Ditka. Next. Look, respect, to be fair, respect for Mike Ditka. Tough guy.
All right. Let's go to Fran Tarkington.
Yeah, a legend. Nothing I can say there, but a legend.
All right. Matthew Stafford.
Massively underrated, and he's going to have a big year this year. That's what comes to my mind.
Last one. Kevin King.
Redemption year. See, I didn't use swear words, Jeff. I didn't use swear words.
I got you. Redemption year. That was, I tell you what, you are truly a Packer fan. All right. How many can they win? What's the record going to be, and how far will they go in the playoffs?
17 games, so I reckon we lose probably 3 or 4. So put the rest up to wins, and I reckon we could seriously go all the way. I mean, this is a team that believe in what they're doing. Preston Smith, for instance, took a massive pay cut to come back because he believes in what the team are doing. So look, there's no point being a fan of your team if you don't think they can go the whole hog. So I think they win the North, they march into the playoffs, home advantage, straight into the Super Bowl, and we lift that Lombardi Trophy.
Well, you heard it here, right here on Coffee with Coach. That was Stay Diddy from the UK and Irish Packers, giving us all of his takes on the Packers and what's going on with his team. Awesome to have you with us, brother. And again, we'll see you down the road.
Indeed. Cheers, Jeff.
All right, man. Take care. Thank you very much.
No worries. See you.